And then the last speaker is panelist is Dr. Obed from Botswana.
I'm examining the relation between custom, culture, ethnicity, and religion, using the example of the Mali cult of Northeast District of Botswana. Just as an abstract, the Mali cult transcends traditional boundaries and ethnic groupings. And it is so because of its interest and focus on ecology. The current drought in Botswana has called for many appeals to Mali to try to help in the situation. Now, as a word of introduction, the Mali cult dates back to time immemorial. Many historians trace the Mali cult or religion to the origins of the Bantu-speaking peoples of sub-Saharan Africa. The origin of the Bantu is associated with Eastern Africa, with migrations down to Southern Africa. However, the major people who are associated with the Mali cult are the Bavenda, the Shona, the Kalanga, and finally the Ndebele. In its early years, the Mali functioned as a tribal cult or as tribal cults which were concerned with issues of rainmaking and some forms of healing. The political and economic aspects of the Mali cult were felt during the conquests of the Ndebele on the Shona and Kalanga peoples. In 1979, Scofiellius edited a book entitled Guardians of the Land, Essays on Central African Territorial Cults. In his introduction to the book, Scofiellius outlined a number of very important things on the nature, character, organization, and the influence of cults in Central Africa. He made a distinction between local or tribal cults and territorial cults. Local cults are limited to certain areas and to groups of people who share the same origin, culture, and customs. The most important thing which this paper focuses on is the role of the cults in ecology and the maintenance of natural resources. This paper will discuss this on the notion of ethnicity. Although an ethnic group is defined by its cultural practices, language, history, or ancestry, religion or style of dress, this paper stems itself on the observation by Gideons that ethnic differences are wholly learned. The fact that ethnicity is learned is characteristic of territorial cults. Territorial cults are not limited by political, tribal, or ethnic boundaries. They move across these boundaries and bind people together to become an ethnic group sharing the same concerns regardless of historical origins. It is from this point of view that the Mali cult, which is the core of this discussion, moved from being a tribal cult to a territorial cult that binds people of different religions, customs, and ethnicities to become one people. According to Scofiellius, the Mali cult has become one of the four major territorial cults still found in Central Africa. One of the major events which has made the Mali cult to survive, especially the impact of Christianity and colonialism, was its adoption by the Ndebele, who migrated into Monomotapa Empire from Zululand. Bebe has described the situation as a religious conquest of the conquerors by the vanquished. By this he meant that even though the Kalanga were politically subjected by the Ndebele were subjected by the Kalanga economically. This was caused by the fact that the Ndebele, originally Zulu, had left the graves of their ancestors in Zululand. As a result, they had no rainmaking ceremonies except to practice those of the Kalanga. Thus, the Mali cult had an economic conquest. During the uprisings of the Shona in 1896-97, the Mali cult played a very significant political role. The impact had repercussions which made the Mali cult to be recognized as a very powerful economic and political force. In Botswana, the messengers of Mali had always made rain for the Bangatu of Kama until the missionary period. Hebben discouraged the Bangatu from participating in the rainmaking ceremonies of the Kalanga by praying to God. This did not in any way stop the influence of the Mali cult in Botswana and Southern Africa as a whole. The Mali cult has adapted itself to the fast changes which have taken place in Botswana and Southern Africa. This paper observes that the major influence of the Mali cult, which has made it a territorial cult up to now, lies in its concerns about ecological issues based on the need for rain and the continued renovation of land, which is under the pressure of rapid developments caused by globalization. With reference to the missionary impact on religious cults in Africa, Scofielus has argued that many missionaries were always at conflicts with the religious cults. But the colonial administrators in many areas were not concerned about the cults, except when they committed crimes like human sacrifice and other immoral practices. In general, colonial administrators were not concerned about religious issues. Christian missionaries were, however, frustrated in their conflicting attitudes by the rise of the Zionist churches, which expressed Christianity in African forms and encouraged the influence of religious cults. Such has also happened to the Mali cult, one of whose high priests also became a bishop of a Zionist church. From this example, this paper argues that the influence of the Mali cult in the northeast district of Botswana and the neighboring countries is due to its inclusion by many African independent churches. The spread of the Ikes beyond tribal, ethnic, and national boundaries has directly and indirectly made the Mali cult to become a very strong cult in the southern African region. The focus of this paper is northeastern Botswana. Northeastern Botswana. The area that is generally referred to as Eastern Botswana has a very long history. It goes back to the 10th and 11th centuries as part of the many kingdoms that have led to the birth of the present Zimbabwe. The most popular and discussed kingdom is that of the Monomotapa. The Monomotapa extended to as far as Mutoti and even beyond in present-day Botswana. It also extended west as far as the Kalahari Desert. This kingdom was partly united by the strong presence of the Mali cult. As stated above, the Mali played both religious and political roles. At the present time, this area is occupied by the Bakalanga and the Ndebele people of various origins. Most of the Kalanga people in the area are not original Kalanga, since they migrated from other parts of southern Africa into northeastern Botswana. The Bakalanga Dungu are those who are the original descendants of the Monomotapa Empire and have the totem moy, which translates heart. The purpose of this paper is to discuss the Mali cult from an ethnicity which is Holy Land point of view rather than tribal perspective. In the past 50 years before Botswana became independent, Mali was referred to as the god of the Bakalanga. He was also referred to as the rain god because he was approached during the rainy season or when people wanted rain. Mali has shifted from being a rain god to a real god who is concerned about all aspects of life, economic, political, and social. The tribal nature of Mali has shifted to an ethnic one. For the purpose of this paper, the word tribe is limited to a few people who share the same culture, customs, language, and totems. But an ethnic group is more of identity than narrower issues of culture, customs, language, and totems. In this regard, many people in Botswana from many tribal groups have become an ethnic group that respects the Mali cult or religion. In the Northeast District, the religion has become so strong that it has Friday as its day when agricultural activities are not performed on Fridays. In Zimbabwe, the day of Mali was Wednesday, but through the influence of the stronger styles in Botswana, they have also shifted to Friday as the day of Mali. One may not recognize these holidays from urban areas, but in the rural areas where agriculture is the base of economic production, the Mali Day is very important. In my home village of Mapoka, where one of the major shrines is, the day is taken very seriously, just like Sunday. One characteristic of the Mali religion, it has no formalities except for the Gumbu festival. In this manner, many church people, including members of the United Congregational Church of Southern Africa, take some active part in the festival. However, in some areas of the Northeast District, such as Jagalas number 2, the Seventh-day Adventists disagree with the idea of Friday being the day of Mali. Their disagreement does not, however, mean that they do not respect the cult, but that there was a time when the Mali cult had subsided in the village. It was during this time that the SDA established itself in Jagalas number 2. From this point of view, the disagreement is based on the sharing of Friday with the SDA, but not the denial of the Mali cult and its impact. Now, let's examine the impact and influence of the Mali cult on custom, culture, ethnicity, and religion. This discussion does not make any clear demarcations between these four aspects of human nature and life. Custom, culture, and religion are regarded as one thing by this paper. Ethnicity simply refers to some form of personal identity, but still, personal identity is based on custom, culture, and religion. This is the reason why one cannot make any clear-cut distinctions. From its immemorial origins with the Bantu peoples from Eastern Africa, the Mali cult had always existed and prospered because of its concerns with rainmaking and the preservation of the ecology. Scofield has also observed that the healing activities of the Mali cult made it resist changes brought by modernization and globalization. The first clear records of Mali cult in Botswana were in its contact with the London Missionary Society amongst the Vanuatu in the late 19th century. This happened when the elements wanted to stop the Vanuatu from using the Mali cult when they asked for rain. But however, the Vanuatu still continue to respect the Mali cult in terms of ecology and in terms of rain. One of the common complaints of the Botswana in the present time is the loss of traditional cultures and its impacts on Botswana societies and communities. In the Northeast District of Botswana, any natural disasters are associated with the disrespect for Mali. Mali is so highly respected that his influence has permeated all aspects of life. Political leaders get more political power when they associate with the Mali cult. In the campaign for political office in 2014, some aspiring politicians also wanted to be chosen by the tribe to represent it in the Mali cult. This representation is very important because the cult leaders go to Zimbabwe to meet with other cult leaders. During this period, they go to the various shrines of Mali to hear the instructions from Mali, especially regards his concerns about social change and the impacts of globalization, which it punishes by withdrawing rain and harming the ecosystem in Botswana and the region. To gain influence, oral interviews stated that one politician even argued that representatives of Mali should be a man with a small voice. This politician was using the fact that the first and most popular Mali cult priest in Togo had a small voice. The other factor which makes the Mali cult popular in the Northeast and Southern Africa is that the grandchildren of Togo have now modernized the cult and they compete in music competitions which take them internationally. And this is by playing this traditional rainmaking music in international spheres, the cult has become known even beyond Africa. Conclusions. The Mali cult is strengthening the relationship between custom, culture, ethnicity, and religion. It has widened the concept of ethnicity to transcend national boundaries, and by so doing, creating an ecological conscious community that is prepared to protect the Southern African region from exploitations caused by globalization and the modernization process. Thank you, Chair.